Greetings, everyone, and welcome to Poetry Live Virtual. Um, Thank you so much for coming, as always. I want to thank the Erie County Public Library for hosting us, for letting us make this possible. Thank all of you for making this possible. And just a general Happy New Year's. It's the 5th, so it's a little afterwards, but this is the first time I've spoken to most of you, so Happy New Year, everyone.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Thank you. Yeah, so I'm not going to belabor the point too much. A lot of people already know the deal, but again,
I don't.
Yeah, you're new. So every week, Poetry Live, we just like to bring poets from the area and from other places as well to read their own poetry for the patrons of Erie County Public Library and just for anybody that's interested in listening. And there's a couple of rules that we kind of use to guide us through this process. The first is each person is asked to read 2 poems, or 2 poems or 3 very short ones. We just want to give everybody a fair amount of time. We would ask everybody to have yourself muted until it's your turn to speak. Just that way we're not getting a lot of cross sound when we're hearing people talk. I also want to remind everybody that this is being recorded. It will be posted on our Facebook. So just to let you know, just so you know what you're reading and everything. Otherwise, once it's your turn to read, you'll introduce yourself. Everybody can type their name into chat and I'll kind of just follow that order as the way we'll move forward. I will start first because it's easier that way. And yeah, I think that's kind of a pretty good rundown of how we do it here. I'm just gonna check and see make sure nobody else jumped in and I missed them because I'm looking at a Google document on the other screen. Cool, looks like everybody's here. So then I will get started and everybody can just, decide where you want to be from there. Okay, so I have 2 poems today. Both of them are in my theoretical manuscript. And the first one doesn't really need much of an introduction, so here we go. Searching for Mana. Carp dried to the sidewalk, miles away from the river. A Slurpee overturned on a mother's blouse. Eat of it and grow fond of majesty. Add adobo and charcoal for heat. Purpose is never sustenance, but outgrowth of vine over the screen window. A bird hangs from it and a cat pounces. As a child, I would create potions, shaving cream, contact lens fluid, beard clippings for my father, and expect flight or transformation. I never landed quietly from the green car's roof. I never soared or raptured, no, just knees bruised. Okay, thank you, everyone. That was my first poem. And my second poem I'm going to read for tonight is shorter than that. It's called Vesper, and just a note, Vesper is a evening prayer. So Vesper. Separate dusk from moss, draw out its green, unspiral mats into long, sharp teeth. If it speaks, listen. If it sings, return home. Away from its rock, dusk makes hollow noise. Use it to thatch your roof. When the sparrows roost in the winter, they will feed. And thank you. Those are my 2 poems, not poems. Those are my 2 poems for the evening. And I will, let's see, who goes next? Okay, I got a bunch of people going after other people, but it looks like Mabel is the person that said she's going next. Is that right? After Annie, after Nisi. Well, Danny's usually second, so we could go with Danny.
Well, if you want, I signed up a little late, but
Oh, no worries. I was just seeing everybody talking about going after the next person,
yeah, I
and
saw that somebody said after Danny, but I hadn't signed up yet. Well, once again, it's 2021, a brand new year, and here we are at the political poetry portion of the program, and I'm trying to bring you, as your host, Art Van God, a new idea for the year to start writing about. And for me, I think the American dream is going to be an idea that I'm going to develop, and I hope other people will follow and start writing political poetry about the American dream. And I've got a couple here to start us off that are written by other people, but they show you the theme and how to work it in. The first one is by Maya Angelou. I'm sure we've all familiar with her, and this one's called Caged Bird. And it's a very, very nice, meaningful poetry about around the theme of the American dream. A free bird leaps on the back of the wind and floats downstream till the current ends, and dips his wings in the orange sun ray, and dares to claim the sky. But a blind bird stalks down his narrow cage. Oh, excuse me, I read that wrong. But a bird that stalks down his narrow cage can seldom see through his bars of rage. His wings are clipped and his feet are tied. So he opens his throat to sing. The caged bird sings with a fearful trill of things unknown, but longed for still. And his tune is heard on the distant hill, for the caged bird sings of freedom. The free bird thinks of another breeze, and the trade wind soft through the sighing trees, and the fat worms waiting on the dawn's bright lawn, and he names the sky his own. But a caged bird stands on the grave of dreams, his shadow shouts on a nightmare screams. His wings are clipped and his feet are tied, so he opens his throat to sing. The caged bird sings with a fearful trill of things unknown, but longed for still, and his tune is heard on the distant hill, for the caged bird sings of freedom. And thank you, Maya Angelou. This second poem is a little shorter, and it's by another famous a Harlem poet, and it's from a book. The poem is called Harlem, and it's by Langston Hughes, who has this was from the collected work of Langston Hughes, published in 2002, and it's called Harlem, and it's a short one, but it's one of his most famous, and you'll recognize why once I read it. What happens to a dream deferred? Does it dry up like a raisin in the sun, or fester like a sore and then run? Does it stink like rotten meat, or crust and sugar over like a syrupy sweet? Maybe it just sags like a heavy load, or does it explode? And that is Langston Hughes' Harlem. And again, a dream deferred is really the theme of his whole book. And so I want to thank you, and I thank these two artists for helping me kick off 2021 with a new theme, the American Dream, a dream deferred.
thank you, Danny. I'm excited to see this new theme unspool itself over the year. Okay, so it looks like after
Thank you.
Danny is Nisi.
It's my turn. Hello, guys. I missed y'all last week. But Happy New Year. Oh, yeah, that was the last one. This is the first one for the new year, right? So Happy New Year, everybody. I have two short ones. This one is really kind of unfinished, and I always forget titles, but I'll start. All right, it's the first one. I've always heavily relied on the word of God, despite rubbing shoulders and worshiping amongst frauds. The highest expression of love is giving without expecting, and all can be diminished.
Hey, Nisi, it looks like you might have froze up. I don't know if you can still
Can you
hear
hear me?
us.
Can
Oh,
you hear me?
I can hear you now, but your video is still frozen.
Okay.
Oh, there we go. We see you.
Now you see me? Sorry. Okay, I'll start. If you've ever had love, it was likely fault and trust.
You've frozen again. Maybe turn off your. Oh, there she goes. Okay, well, hopefully she'll
Is that
join.
me? I think it's me, huh?
It might be you. It might be worth
Turn my
closing your
video off?
video and
Okay.
just doing the audio. That might take up less bandwidth.
Is that better?
Try to speak a little more.
Okay, is that better?
Yeah, I can hear you well.
Okay, I'll start over. I've always heavily relied on the word of God, despite rubbing shoulders and worshiping amongst frauds. The highest expression of love is giving without expecting, and all can be diminished if the receiver decides on rejecting. If you have ever failed at love, it is likely a fault in trust and investing in the flesh with a heart overwhelmed with lust. Oftentimes I've opened up and shown the love inside of me. I will never sell my soul, but I admit it has been on lease. People tend to reflect and live their life differently when others try to destroy them just for the existence, you see. So that was the first one. Did you hear it? Was it okay? All right. And I have one more. I'll go off their video again. All right, this one I think I wrote last month. It's kind of like political. That's why I like to follow Danny. Okay. So he proclaimed that he didn't want to come back to Erie, yet they still revere this man. He's filing a lawsuit in fury before reimbursing us the sand and the 10 bands. I know that Donnie feels slighted, and he wants you to know that he's important. Remember, he spent 4 years overturning legislation just to lose to Obama's subordinate. And I know that there's a lot of folks sour about how this election went. Their insides started to decay the hour Biden chose a minority woman as vice president. Now the year has wound down, a new president has been elected, and the majority of the country whines and frowns at the cabinet that he has selected. Trump refuses to step down, at least politically. And even the Fox News pundits have found that he's not even thinking critically. So in the midst of this pandemic and the end of this election, he is bearing the arms and the sheer panic of America, along with his direction. Thank you.
Thank you, DC. It's always good to get some more political poetry up in the mix. I mean, I don't know why I say that. We have plenty of it here, but it's still true. Okay, so it looks like after Nisi, we've got Chuck.
Thanks, Patrick.
Did we miss Mabel?
Now, Mabel's still down the line, I think. Oh, she said next, but I wasn't sure if next was after William or if it was next after me. I was a little confused because I'm usually confused.
I would be happy to defer to Mabel's choice if she would like to go now or indicate when she would like to go for Patrick.
After Chuck.
Okay. we did it, guys.
We did it. There is no I in team. I have 2 poems for tonight.
There's a me, Chuck. There's a me in team.
Oh, you got me. That will never be the same again. 2 poems for tonight. I've been enjoying reading covers, but tonight I want to read a poem that I wrote that was inspired by a record album. And the title of the poem is followed by the epigraph. The title is The Widow's Best Friend, Anne. And the epigraph is After Greendale, Neil Young. The very definition of a minor character, Anne, her part a bit part. She finds the money in Carmichael's drawer. Anne, she only appears in a few lines, maybe 8 lines in a 59-line song. Just the one song of 10 long songs on the entire album, a very literary album for a record, tells a story like an opera with a complicated plot, subplots, many characters, Jed, Grandpa, son Green, Carmichael, his widow, and Anne with her very small part. Even Susan Carroll, the reporter, has a bigger part. Thing is, Anne is my wife. She's my whole world, as romantics say. A very small part in Greendale, but my whole world. It's John Barth. For me, Anne is the star. Even bigger than Bandit himself, bigger than Neil Young. Anne, she is everything to me. And that's not all. I'm the one she told about the money, the $200. I'm the one she's talking to, which makes me a character too, with an even smaller part. Thank you. And my second poem I also wrote. In fact, sort of following upon Mabel's success, I also had a poem recently published, which I'm eager to bring to the group here tonight. And I'm particularly excited to read this poem because the publisher responsible for publishing this poem has just joined us. And he can introduce himself later. He's George Wallace. So I'm going to read this poem now. It's from poetrybay.com, a publication called Polarity. Billy Collins is my dad. It's a 2-part poem. 1, it's not easy, a poet for a dad, ask my children, but they have no idea what it's like when the poet dad is Billy Collins. Stepdad, really, after we lost Charles Bukowski. And before that, my mom had a female partner. So long ago, I don't remember her name. Maybe Diane. The hardest part, Billy Collins being my dad, is growing away from him. I could be Billy's little boy forever. 2, sometimes it's easy. Surprisingly easy as opening a book, a certain placement of the hands, the simple turn of a wrist. Look, it happens all the time. Look here and here. Dad starts a line with a preposition. Don't ask me why, but I, the son, won't do that. Okay, I'll tell you why. A lead-off preposition violates the integrity of my idea of a line. Thank you. Thank you, George.
Thank you so much, Chuck. Congratulations. That's amazing. Publication news is always the best news. Well, maybe not in the world, but it's really good news. Awesome. Well, I think it's Mabel's turn.
Hey, my dog's attacking me, kind of. All right. So, hi everyone. I have 3 poems today, and 1 will be short, and 2 will be a little bit longer. All right. So the first one is called The Big City. You became a different person after cutting your locks, and then again after losing your dog tags. Thank you. And the next one that I read is going to be from the Crepe challenge that I was a part of, and I was the winner of the competition. So it's short and sweet from my perspective, but you'll let me know. It's called My First Rose. He loves me not. One day this rose will surely drop into the hands of a fine young man who has been looking for a sign leading to the right woman. Youthful and free, everything that she has been patiently waiting on. He dresses nice, exquisite in his speech, perfect smile and beautiful teeth. The sound of his voice brings about peace. Yeah, he's the right one visually. I wonder if he thinks intelligently, if he too, a creative, writes poetry, or maybe lyrics and also sings the true stamp of the king I've been patiently waiting for, prior to the drop of my first rose. Thank you. And the next one. This is called Art, and my description of it. Art is one of the most beautiful creations, one that can be experienced with all five senses: hearing, seeing, speaking, touching, and tasting. The word artist has the ability to incorporate all or one into every piece of their work. A beautiful gift. That is all. Thank you.
Thank you so much. That first very short poem, pretty wowing. Like, that's very great. Thank you so much. I think then what we're looking at, just as a quick forecast, it looks like we'll have Todd, then William, and then George. So let's welcome Todd up to the mat.
Hi. All right. So, Happy New Year, everybody. It's great to be here, as usual. Today I'm going to read two. First poem I'm going to read is older for me. I wrote it in 2015 while having lunch at the Gannon Cafe thing. And I saw a man who had like a web of wiring attached to the back of his head, and it wrapped it into like a cord and went in his bag. And I was kind of wondering, like, why? You know, I knew it must be some sort of medical reason, but I don't know. I also have dealt with people having mental issues, like physical mental issues in my family. So it just kind of got my mind spinning. And this poem is about that guy, and it's called Webhead. Long ago, I forgot how to think. At least that's what the nurses, they told me something about synapses. I said I was a good Christian, that I loved God and hated the sin. And even though ass is in the Bible, Jesus resurrected a man named Lazarus. I've liked Batman since I was 5 years old. For a long time, I wanted to be like Ra's al Ghul and go for a swim whenever I got tired. But my youth is being restored as the eagles. This is the day the Lord has made, and I will rejoice in the Father. The Almighty, maker of my son, visited me last week. At least that's who he said he was. When I asked him for his name, there was weeping and gnashing. I wish I had my teeth. I lost them somewhere along the way. 2 roads diverged in a yellow wood. I think I lost them on the left one. A man who called himself my son said that I have a grandson who just lost his first tooth. I told him I lost my last one yesterday. All my troubles seemed so far away for far too long. I read Spider-Man into my 50s. That was the best generation. When boys became men, their mothers wept. Peter Parker lost his parents when he was young. I wonder if that's how he became Webhead. You could call me that, Webhead. I wear mine every day. I forget what happened yesterday. I've almost forgotten myself. There should be a song to remind me of who I am, to sing my body electric. The birds and the trees, and the flags flying, typists typing. These days, computers are everywhere. I've never used one. My son used to try to teach me how to weave the web, but the arthritis hurts especially in my knees today. Can you help, Doc? Wait, what? Who are you again? Oh, my son? Are you sure? I never had a son. At least, I don't remember having one. I'm just Webhead, who would have my son. All right. This one is a newer piece. This is short and sweet. And this one is in my collection that I'm currently working on. My first official, like, done up and edited collection, called the Crepe Crusade. This is part of book 3 or 2, and I wrote it while staying at a hotel while my apartment was being de-leaded. And we stayed in an apartment by the Mill Creek Mall, which there's a creek that runs behind it. And I found a spot in the fencing that had a hole, and I would go over there whenever I needed to get out of the tiny apartment and just sit there and watch the creek. But the thing is, Mill Creek is not a very pretty creek to look at. And this is a poem that I wrote about it. Still and green, but you are not grass. The wind will not wave you, and the birds can't ripple as they pass. The algae roots your banks and communicates with the shrubs. Still waters in what they breed, wet and slow and crass. All right, thank you.
Thank you so much, Todd. Okay, so it looks like, William, if you're ready, you'll be next.
Okay, I just started writing poetry back in March last year, and I've got 3, 2 of them are pretty short. First one is my first haiku from back in August that I wrote. Woodland pathways green, whisper springtime's words of love, quiet, chirping leaves. And my second one read is one of my first 2 or 3 that I wrote. It's called Sappho's Gift. I've tried a couple cough drops in the wine, none's done it too much good. I got a little bit of catch in my throat. Through fields of violets, step softly, draw near, share my heart, bring joy to my soul. Muse now divine, sing your songs, words everlasting. A brief moment be as one, that I may move on. Lay your breath upon the gentle breeze. And the third, I guess is for Danny, this ties in a little bit with American Dream, calls Truce Moment 2020. Ideals certain, once shared, some carried on, some to grave. Generations to generations, cries of the past, cries of the now. Pain, wrong, unfair, unjust, once we cried, pain. Make right, we cried, we heard, we shall share, equals. Pain of the past, we listened, cried out against, shared. Pain of the past, shared, owned, fading. Our new past, present, good, fair, just. Pain of the past, faded, all is well, equal. Pain of the now, cries of ghosts. Cries of ghosts. Rights trampled, loved ones die. We listen, all is equal now. Cries of ghosts, give back the pain, all is well. Ghosts cry, injustice past. Ghosts cry, injustice now. Pain of the past. Pain of the past, no longer veiled. Cry loud, cry strong. To long pin truce, to flower come. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, George, and thank you for letting us join you for your poetry journey. That was wonderful. I look forward to hearing more, hopefully.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you. Sorry, I'm just stuck on that last poem. Okay, so before we move on, I think we have just one more person. Of course, if there's anybody else after this next person, you can speak up afterwards, and we'll love to have you read. But if not, that's completely okay. So it looks like George Wallace is next. And welcome, George.
All right, thank you. Thanks, I'm calling in from New York City. Chuck's suggestion. Patrick, thanks for letting me in. I missed the first one or two. I'm sorry about that, but hopefully I'll hear some others. And yeah, we published Chuck's poem just New Year's Day, and proud to do it. Good friend of ours. So I'll read one poem for you. Thanks for listening. Thanks for allowing me to participate. In youth or any age, even in time of plague, to know your secret, to declassify you, to feel you rush like a fine claret in the veins of my arms, or flicker like candle flame in the thick of my neck, to burn with the anguish of desire, to possess you and be possessed, to tender your weaknesses and bring virtue to its knees, to breach you like a ship breaches a cold, dark sea, you, who are all else to me and a bulwark to oblivion, you, all that defines me, my lips, my breasts like honeycombs, my beard and belly and hips, victim to your kisses. To be love's casualty, which doesn't happen by degrees, but by overwhelming surprise, like Norse ships, fierceness of a sudden summer squall, your misplaced caresses, which subdue me, your aura, which is measureless, your sidelong glances, which are child's play in the schoolyard, your logic, which is embarrassing, syllogism scrawled on a blackboard, lawless, not even mathematical, irrefutable. Oh, to be yours, lover, eagerly, unyieldingly, heir to nothing and everything, the boldness and the ready grief, to be rooted in you like new grass in fresh soil, to take what taint and livelihood may be taken from you, the very plasma of you, flesh and bone, replenished for the taking. These are love's fingerprints, mark my DNA. These are love's inconquerables and esoterics in youth or any age, even in time of plague. Call it inheritance, call it God, call it inevitability. We are heaven. I am yours. Thank you. Thanks.
Wow, well, thank you so much, George. That was wonderful. And thank you for calling in all the way from New York. That's pretty great. Well, we've had some fantastic poetry tonight. Was there anybody else that wanted to read before we head on out? Okay. Well then, once again, I just feel very privileged to have you all here and to be able to hear you read your poetry. And I want to thank you all for being here tonight. I want to thank the Erie County Public Library for hosting this event. And I want to wish you all a happy new year. It's, 2020 was rough. Don't have to tell anybody that. Let's hope for a little something else going forward. Okay, well, I look forward to seeing you all next week. As always, feel free to get in touch with me at pnuddle@eriecountypa.gov if you have any questions or concerns, and I'll see you all then.
Bye, everyone.
Bye. It was fun.
Bye. Have a
That was-
good week.
See y'all. Miss y'all next week.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, Erie.
Stellar
Bye, New York.
weekend coming up.
Oh yeah, thank you, out of towners.